And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Everyday People Show is a very special show that airs on Friday. It's all about people who go the extra mile, who serve others, who help others in their hour of need in a broad range capacity. Today, I've got my good friend from high school back with us. He was on a previous show, The Messages of Inspiration Hope, last week. And Rick Huffstetler is with us again. He's a chaplain. He's going to share some things about a lot of information on how people can get involved in their community, how they can, focus on various groups, everything from, goodness gracious, civic organizations to whatever, to be able to, the key to success is being able to give and share your gifts with others. That's it. It's not money. It's not anything like that. It's all about sharing our gifts and all that. And Tamara Blankenship is the co-host with me today. I'm her co-host. She's my co-host. So together we is kind of like co-host along, as I like to say. But most importantly, we're going to have a great time, and be sure and let someone know about the show. You can like us on Facebook, Everyday People. We have a YouTube channel, Everyday People. This particular show will be edited after the show. Then tonight it will be uploaded on YouTube at Everyday People. And we'll be right back right after this brief message.
Hi, my name is Michelle Moras, and I had the honor of being on Everyday People with Jim and Tamara, and I had such a blast. They are amazing hosts, and they just truly help talk up what you do as an individual, as a business, as an entrepreneur. And if you get a chance, if you get to be part of this, you really want to be there on their show with them and to share this around the world with your circles, because they're real people, inspiring and sharing stories of real people. And it's fabulous to be part of this community. Hope to see you on Everyday People.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And I got to bring Tamara to this show here, invite her in there. How you doing, Tamara?
Hi, good to see you.
Oh, good to see you, and so glad to be with you again on Fridays here. It's a wonderful time. We're friends. We go back several years, and it's just a joy and jubilee and a privilege to be here, isn't it?
Absolutely. Can't wait till we get into it today.
Oh, yeah. And I've got to give a shout out to Michelle Moras, because she filled in for us on a short notice. And when I called Michelle, I says, Michelle, Tamara and I need a guest, and we'd love to have you, because we know the kind of person she is. Mm-hmm. And she says, Jim, I'll be glad to be on your show under one condition. I said, okay, what's that? She says, I need you to be on my show, my TV show in the Philippines. And I says, I can do that. That's just the kind of lady she is, isn't she?
Yes, she's amazing. What a great spirit. Such a powerful story. You guys got to get a chance to check out that show. Was amazing.
Oh, yeah. That's on the YouTube, Everyday People. This is actually our 7th show, because we started the TV show on November the 30th, huh?
It's crazy. It's going so fast.
Yeah. And we're getting, recognition all over the world, emails from India and Pakistan, and been invited to 2 shows, to one in the Philippines I just mentioned, 2 in the UK, and going to be invited on a show in India. So
one in Europe, it's getting retraction.
Yeah, I mean, this virtual world is great, because you don't have to worry about packing a lunch or anything.
Absolutely, very, very fun.
Let's welcome Mr. Rick Huffstetler to the show. My goodness gracious, Rick, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing real good. It's such a privilege and honor and pleasure to have you back on the show.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad you said something about that you're going to edit this before it goes up, because who knows? I mean,
No bleeping. No bleeping
yeah,
allowed.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully, I won't say anything you got to bleep, but
No, no,
you
no.
never know.
I'm not worried about that. When I say
Okay.
edit it, make sure we take out any fuzz or
Yeah.
anything like that.
There you go.
I
There you
asked
go.
them if I asked them if they can make me better, better looking. You know what they told me, Rick?
No,
They said we're editors. We're not miracle
that's
workers.
right. That's right. Well, uh,
Hey, you
I'm
gotta
glad.
ask.
Yeah, I'm glad Tamara's here because I'd rather look at her than you. But that's
That's
Oh,
a
you're
sign of
okay.
intelligence there.
All
Yeah,
right.
my nickname for her is TG, and
Mm-hmm.
we've had a lot of fun with that.
Okay.
But most importantly, I'm
Mhm.
just so thrilled that you're here. And when Tamara
Mhm.
got your information
Mhm.
and read about you, I mean, she was just, oh yes,
Mhm.
we were
very
just
excited.
yeah, she
Well,
showed up before I did here to the studio.
uh, well, I'm flattered. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think I'm anything special. I don't understand why anybody would think I'm anything. I mean, it's. I'm just a very humble guy. I'm sorry, but that's just me. I just don't.
Mhm.
I don't. Sometimes you don't think about what you're doing, and or and you just do it, and and
Mhm.
and all of a sudden somebody says wow, and you go, what who and that's just
Do
kind
my
of,
thing.
yeah, that's kind of me. And I don't, if y'all see something in me, great. I'm so glad to be here. But
Well, I think it's just like what Michelle said there in the opening comments about the show. We're just
hmm
real people. And that's what
yeah,
people really connect with is real people who have a
sure,
heart. And that's
right.
that's where you're a great compliment to this show, and we're
Well,
honored to
thank you,
have you, sir.
thank you. I'm really thrilled to be here. Really, yeah. hmm
And would you like to share a little bit about yourself? I mean, I know you're a chaplain. You went into that a little bit on the
hmm
previous show. We just want to
hmm
start a little foundation and go from there, sir.
Well, chaplain work and what I'm doing now is really a second career. I worked in textiles uh, for many years, and then was in sales for quite a number of years, and uh, that was the thrust of things. And then about 2009, and as we talked about, I started feeling very restless that something wasn't. This wasn't what I needed to be doing, and through a really a dear friend, that we lost him, in fact, about a year or two ago, and um, he started talking to me about coming to work at the Billy Graham Association, at the radio station 106.9 The Light, which is out of Black Mountain. And uh, and so that's really when I really made the transition into Christian service work. And I was there for a couple of years, um, and then health reasons, I was not able to continue that type work. And I was I had gotten my undergraduate degree while I was in sales in 2002, which I was like 53 or so. And while I was flat on my back, I was trying to decide, okay, what am I going to do next? And I had a pastor one time tell me, he said, that he always prayed. He said, God, if you want me to do something different, please don't hit me in the face with a 2x4. Just, kind of give me a gentle nudge. And but what God did with me was hit me in the face with a 2x4, and that's, he put me flat on my back. And that's, I thought I had it all figured out. And so then I after 3 surgeries, I think we talked about that
Mhm.
at Duke University Hospital, which um, that in itself maybe will tell you how serious it was. But anyway, um, I got my master's. I went to Liberty University online and got my master's from the Theological Seminary, which is a great. I mean, if you just want to learn, that's a great experience to do that. I don't care what your age is. Getting a formal education in Christian studies is I recommend that to anybody. But
Mhm.
so I got that, and in the meantime, I was trying to. Chaplain work had something that I had always had in the back of my mind, that and I went on the International Fellowship of Chaplains. I signed up for a basic training course in Houston, Texas. They have them all over the country, but this happened to be the one that I could fit into my schedule, and it was in Houston. And had a great guy that was teaching the class. In fact, he was in television. He actually was a dentist, but he made prosthetics for cancer patients. That for jaw and all that kind of stuff. But he had MS, or and he, his hands would tremble, and so he couldn't do that anymore. And so he was in television. He was the chief chaplain for the Houston Police Department. And he also had a TV show there in Houston, a local TV show, and I'm not sure what all he did on that, but he was my trainer, and we talked a lot about what I wanted to do, and one of the things that chaplain training teaches you is what you don't want to do. And I figured out real quick that I didn't want to. Well, I was too old to do military, of course, but I didn't want to do police and fire and first responders. That wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't want to work in a hospital, even though I took clinical pastoral education through what it's now Atrium. It was Carolinas Medical, and that is a program that teaches you chaplain work in the hospital, and so I did that, and that's not what I wanted to do. Even though I got the credit, I mean, I needed the credits of taking the course, but I always had a heart for business and industry, and that's where I felt the greatest need was for me, and where I could contribute the most. And with my background, I can go in and I could relate to people, and because I've been where you are, I've dealt with the things that you've dealt with, and and I've had the bad bosses, and I've had the bad fellow employees, and I've had all that happen to me. So that's kind of where it all
came together for you.
Right. And the trainer in Houston, I said something to him about going with one of these large companies like corporate chaplains or marketplace chaplains, and they're huge. They're in all 50 states. And he asked me, he just looked at me and he said, "Why do you want to go with them? Do you need the benefits?" I said, "No, I don't particularly need the benefits." And he said, "Well, you've got a background in sales. You can market yourself. Just go do it." And so I came back home and I thought about it. And I created a company. It's an LLC. I registered with the state. My son-in-law did my website, and we set all this up, and so that's how all that came about. And I've always been grateful to the IFOC for my training, and for as an ordained deacon, or ordained chaplain, ordained senior chaplain. So
what I love about you, and this is one of the reasons why we got him on the original show, Tamara, is that we're the same age. He's better looking, as you can tell. We both graduated from Shelby High School from Shelby, North Carolina in 1967, but we both have the same kind of heart. Retirement for us, it's not a good fit for us. It's not our calling in life. And that's why we had him on the show. And I know, Tamara, that you really appreciate when senior citizens, I don't consider myself a senior citizen.
We got to change that.
You were going to go there. I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah, we got to change it. We either seasoned citizens or experienced citizens, or my favorite is teenagers.
My favorite is too dumb to quit.
I like that.
Teenagers. I like the term teenager. Yeah, because really, I don't know about you, Jim, but when I think about our classmates, don't you see them as 18 years old? When you think,
I really do. I mean,
you think in your mind. You think in your mind. You think, okay, I'll just give you a name, Joe Roundtree. How does he look? He looks like he's 18 years old.
Yeah, he's a retired colonel.
Anybody else?
That is funny.
Think about one of the cheerleaders, or the homecoming queen. She still looks the same in your mind. I don't see them as and so so I think teenagers is a great word.
Yeah, because that's who they are as a person. that
Sure.
never changes.
Yeah, that
And
doesn't change. No.
yeah,
Mhm.
and what you
You're
said,
just as
but
rebellious
yeah,
as you were back then.
Yeah.
but
Stubborn and everything.
Yeah.
like I said earlier, I'm not the senior citizen. I'm in the group that's too dumb to quit.
Well, yeah, that's me. I'm,
No,
I
but
don't.
That's great.
Anyway.
I really love what I do. I really enjoy what I do. Coming here and doing the show. I mean, I do 6 live shows a week. I produce them and all. Did the radio show this morning, and on
Mhm.
our radio show, we're on all kind of different platforms from Amazon all the way. It's on and on. We've got over 6 million downloads on it. But the thing that I really enjoy is that it challenges me.
Mhm.
I think that keeps you young. Working with up to 9 guests a week will definitely keep you young. It'll turn your hair gray. But
Yeah, I don't have that problem. So,
but it really does. Life is about living, and it's about
mhm.
giving. And I'll tell you, Tamara is a lady that she's got a heart of gold. And I first met you out there at that expo event, and that
Yeah.
was a few years back. And
Yeah, it's quite a long time ago.
oh yeah, and we were talking one time about these expo events, and normally they're a card shuffle. You walk up to someone, and the first thing they want to do is give you their card, and you just
Mhm.
take it and
Elevator
automatically,
speech and the card. It's
yeah.
usually a double whammy.
Right.
Pre-trained, pre-programmed.
And then when you get home, you got a stack of cards like you can play poker with, and you go
Mhm.
through them,
Who was
and
this? Yeah.
some of them do not ring a bell.
Mhm.
No.
I mean,
Mhm.
does not ring a bell.
Yeah.
And Tamara and I, we kind of hit it off there, and she visited with Don, and I don't know how it all came about, but it was a higher calling for us to do something. We were going to do something about a year and a half ago, and we couldn't get the energy going. Little did we know we were being reserved for this show here.
Mhm.
And that's a much higher
Right.
call than what we were going to do originally. So
Right.
that
Right.
the main thing of it is to stay busy and volunteer. If you don't want to work or whatever, find places to volunteer. Because one of the questions that comments you made is that
Mhm.
there's so many areas that need
Mhm.
volunteers, and a lot
There
of
is.
people don't know about some of the
Right.
organizations in their community.
Mhm.
Like in your community, what are some of the organizations around you that come up to the top of your head
Well,
there?
like I say, one of the ones that I have a great passion for is Civitans. I've been a member of Civitans now for a number of years, about 20 years. And Civitans, a lot of people don't even know who we are, but it was formed back, I think, in 1917 or during World War I. It was formed to, because so many of the men were all fighting, and it was to support things that were going on in individual towns, and it started in Birmingham, Alabama, and and now it's worldwide. We have an international Civitan, but Civitan, for example, our thrust is special needs kids. That's our biggest thing. Special Olympics is one of the things that we do, but we also have a research hospital in Birmingham, Alabama, that we totally fund. And some of the research that's going on there is just incredible. Birth defects and all this kind of thing. Doing some incredible research. The Western North Carolina Civitans, which is the largest Civitan group in the whole organization. We support the Victory Junction Gang Camp, which is
Kyle
the
Petty
Petty,
family.
Kyle Petty started in honor of Adam Petty, and it's located over in Level Cross, and they do a phenomenal work. They bring people into a camp. These kids that's the only way they could go. These are really, really. I mean, they're either seriously handicapped, special needs, or they're having life challenge. I mean, it's like. It's incredible to go and see what they do there. They
Wow.
have a hospital there. They have all this stuff there, and they even have a building that's shaped like a race car. I mean, that's pretty cool when you think about it. I mean, they have a
That's
whole
Really?
building. Yeah.
Wow.
So and they have the only 3-story tree house that has an elevator. And our Civitans, we keep that up, and we built some dorms there and stuff like that. But anyway, back here locally, I mean, we support it used to be called the Soup Kitchen. That's called Feed North Carolina, FeedNC. We support that. We've the Christian Mission, Health Reach Clinic, which is a free clinic that is fully funded by donations. And if somebody doesn't have insurance, or even if they're working, they don't have insurance, they can go there and get free medical help.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and it only has like one paid employee, and it's the lady that runs the whole thing.
Right.
We do. There's the Dove House. There's all kinds of things here that we support, that affect. We do a kids a Christmas party every year for the special needs classes in Mooresville, and where we not only we bring Santa Claus and all this kind of stuff in, but we give gift cards to the teachers and things like that.
Wow.
And so these are areas locally, that we get involved in. We do a polar plunge every year. Well, we weren't able to do it this year because of COVID. We do a polar plunge at Lake Norman, and we do it in February. And I mean, sometimes it's pretty nice, and sometimes it's really is bad. So, but I don't personally jump in, but we got one lady that does every year. She jumps in, and she's a retired school teacher, and
Wow.
she jumps in that lake every year. And all that money goes to Special Olympics, and so we do a lot of things like that. But go ahead.
As to say, it's really interesting. You keep on bringing this up, but I really want to highlight this because this is something that I don't think many people really think about. During COVID, some of the more impacted communities are our charity organizations.
Right.
They depend on a lot of these activities to fund the charity.
Right.
Like even dinners and stuff like that are going on, these things that we would do as a social outing.
Sure.
How do you see charities modifying to get funding? How are they still getting support? Because a lot of these are hands-on activities where they need these volunteers to go in and do services. How are they modifying? Have you seen anything specific? How are they having to navigate that differently?
Well, we're continuing to meet through Zoom. And we meet, we've cut our meetings from once a month down to twice a month to once a month. So we're meeting on Zoom, but we're still doing like we had a virtual polar plunge where we're asking everybody to you don't have to go physically get in the water, but you can donate. But so we're trying to use technology as best we can to keep the money flowing in.
Has it been hard to let everyone know about the changes with awareness?
Yes,
because I would think that would be the number one. The
It
big
is.
shift in the marketing and how to promote some of these events must be very difficult.
It is, and the reason being is that not everybody is comfortable with Zoom, and we changed our meeting time. We were a lunch group, and so we've changed it now to 6 p.m. and so a lot of our members can't be involved in that, but we've got some activities coming up that COVID is not going to affect. We have a nighttime golf tournament that we have every year, and I'm serious. At nighttime, you play with glow in the dark balls, and
that's fun.
Oh yeah, it's a hoot. I mean, and it's goonie golf. It's, you don't have to really be a golfer, but it's fun to see these golf balls flying all over in the dark. But anyway, so we're going to have that in April, and people are playing golf now. I mean,
they have never stopped playing golf.
That never stopped. So
did not stop.
Yeah. So we're going to have that. That raises that's one of our biggest fundraisers each year because we have a lot of people involved in that. Our other big fundraiser, we always had there's a company here in our area called Porta Pit, and they have perfected barbecue chicken, and I mean it's a delicacy around here, and so we always had that on election day. So obviously we weren't able to do that this year, so that we missed that opportunity. Hopefully we'll be back this year, but so some of the things that we are still being able to do, but our membership as far as attending meetings are we're just not getting any attendance, and so that's kind of hurting us. But that's really you know,
Demand on the creativity for sure.
yeah.
Hmm.
You mentioned something there. It came to my mind about, Zoom and technical. It could be someone's got a lot of technical expertise. Think of how valuable them working with an organization that has to shift to the virtual
Right,
communication realm rather than the physical.
right.
Holy smokes, they'd probably lock them in and not let them get out.
That's true.
I mean, they would
That's
be
true.
very welcome, wouldn't they?
They sure would. They sure would. But like I say, I'm passionate for Civitans because that's the one I'm involved in. But there's so many others. There's Rotary.
Oh, yeah.
There's all kinds of groups, civic organizations that
Mhm.
people can get involved, and even the Chamber of Commerce. Even the Chamber of Commerce
Yes.
can
Yeah.
Yeah.
can be a great benefit. So but there's so many ways that you can volunteer and
Mhm.
yeah, people when they think charity and they think they always think church and that's great and church I mean the churches do a great work in any community
Mhm.
but there's so much beyond that
Right.
that people can if they would just and we invite, of course, right now is a very unusual time, but normally what I would do, I would invite somebody to come to a meeting, a
Mhm.
Civitan meeting, and just listen to what goes on.
Mhm.
Um, and last year we had, for example, we do a uh, Pastor Appreciation Day. It's
Mhm.
always the first Tuesday, the first meeting of February. It's Pastor Appreciation, and it's exactly what it means. We invite pastors. We have all our members invite their pastors and, and and people that work in their church and all to come in, and we have a nice lunch, and we generally have a program. I had the chief chaplain and of motor racing outreach. Billy
Mm.
Malden came in and spoke, and he was fabulous. He was just
Mm.
phenomenal. And so, we try to do things like that to kind of give back to
Mm.
those that give, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And so, but I encourage everybody look around. There's
Oh, yeah.
so many things you can volunteer for. And,
Absolutely. It doesn't, yeah, there's different organizations of any kind.
mhm.
So share with us a little bit about the work chaplain services that you actually
Mhm.
do. Can you share a little bit
Okay.
about that?
What I do, and here again, I am the chief cook and bottle washer of my company. I'm the only employee,
Hmm.
and this has been a challenge because um, I have been trying to get some new accounts, but it's tough when companies won't let you in the door
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
because of COVID, and so I've kind of haven't been able to do that kind of work like I want to.
Mhm.
And things are starting to open up. So
Mm.
I'm very encouraged. I've done some presentations on some big companies, and so I'm encouraged. But what I do, and here again, one of the accounts that I had was fast food, and that's a challenge in itself because normally the turnover's high in
Oh, yeah.
in that company and or in that industry, and so but I would literally go in and work beside the people. I'd put on the apron uh, I'd make milkshakes or whatever, and yeah, and get in and actually work with the people, and this way you kind of get to know them, and you kind of you can relate, and
Right.
especially one of the places that I did was in a college town, and that was fun because most of these people were not from that area. They were there for school,
Hmm.
and so that was fun to get in and talk with college people
Yeah.
and talk about their aspirations and share with some things But
Those
we had
millennials are a bit different, aren't they?
yes, yes. So, but we had some opportunities to be of service. We had one young man, his house caught on fire at Christmas,
Oh,
and
Oh.
so I was rounding up supplies and whatever I could get, and going in the middle of the night hauling stuff up there. And we had a
wow.
young man who he was in a parking lot. He was threatening suicide. So we had some
Mm.
things like that happen. And those are the extremes. We had one young man was in a bad car wreck, and um, It's just things like that. And so
Hmm.
that's kind of we work. It's like I tell people, I might be at the workplace, I might be in the hospital, I might be at the jail, I might be wherever that employee needs me to be.
Mm.
And so that's I would travel to each of the different locations, and spend time with each one of them. And then you're getting calls on the phone, you're getting calls at night, and it may be, my boyfriend just broke up with me or whatever, and so you're getting calls at home, and so you try to, which was great experience, great training ground for what I'm doing now. But
Hmm.
so you try to be there for them. You're not a counselor. You
Hmm.
never claim to be. All you want to, you
Hmm.
just want to be somebody I can pull upside. I used I use the I use the story of Job
Mm.
a lot with, and let me tell you the story that I use though as a chaplain.
Okay.
When Job first lost everything,
Mm.
uh, he tore his clothes, he put on old clothes, and he sat in ashes, which was the Jewish
Custom.
tradition of grieving. And he
Hmm.
had three friends that came, and I don't know if you've ever caught this in the Bible or not, but his three friends came, and they sat with him for a solid week. For a
Hmm.
week, they sat with him, and nobody said a word. Nobody said a word.
Whoa.
Okay, it was when they started talking is when the wheels came off.
Yep.
That's when they messed up, when they started talking. So
Yep.
a chaplain, a lot of times, all we can do and all we should do is just sit with somebody and listen.
Hmm.
I mean, you don't have to say anything,
Hmm.
especially if they're grieving, or
Mm.
I had one young man. He lost his mother. She was only like 54 years old.
Wow.
I went down to Raleigh, and where he was from. He was one of the college students, and it just being there. It's that's what I say.
Yeah.
It's a ministry of presence. It's just
Mm.
being there.
I get it.
Yeah.
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 And sometimes that's very important because they can open up to you if they kind of like know, like, and trust you a little bit and feel
Right.
comfortable with you
Right.
and be able to just get things off their chest,
Right.
and you're not interrupting them, and you're not, throwing things in there to break that flow of
Right.
communication to get all that stuff out.
Right.
And I say
Yeah.
that, and I got to interrupt us, so we got to go to commercial. We'll be right back right after this brief message.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Angel Marie Monticelli with Angel Marie Shines. And I had the pleasure, the honor to go through training for the 6-minute webinar. Oh my gosh, this webinar and how it's structured and how they teach it. Thank you, Speakers Pathway Coalition. Thank you, Don McGrath, and the whole team for the 6-minute webinar, because you made it so simple, easy. And the way you lined it out with the outline, I can reproduce it. And I'm already getting the engagement. I'm getting people that are coming back that are saying, oh, I love this webinar that's so short, so to the point, and I love your products and what I'm selling, but then what I'm also, the services that I provide, and I do any of this because I have the framework. So thank you so much to the whole team, because the 6-minute webinar totally rocks. Thank you.
Tamara, we're back with everyone, and I told Angel, I think you know Angel very well too. I
Mhm.
told Angel one time, I said, when your parents named you Angel, they couldn't have picked a more perfect word for your name, because she is truly a wonderful lady. And, she's one of these people that just says, hey, Jim, if you ever need someone to fill in on the spur of the moment, if you got a vacancy or someone's sick, she says, please call me. I mean, she just gives and gives and gives. And so, Angel Marie Monticelli, I salute you, young lady. I love you. You're part of our family, and I'm just so honored to be associated with people like that. I really am. It's truly a blessing. But Rick, you were saying on a previous show, and I just wanted folks to know what you do there because you work on a hotline and you chose
Mm.
the hours from midnight to 4. And Tamara, he said, when someone calls you at between
Mm.
12 and 4 in the morning, they got a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not having a good night normally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally. Well, what I do, I am what's called a PLA, a prayer line associate. I work for the Billy Graham Association, and I man the prayer line. And now, actually, we have two lines that I'm involved with. We have the prayer line, which that number is associated with Franklin Graham and some of the ads that we run ads on TV, the
Mhm.
different channels. But there is also, I don't know if if you remember the Crusades of Billy Graham.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Right
yeah.
at the end of the crusade, he'd have an altar call, but then he'd look at the camera and say, "If you're at home and you've accepted Christ, call this number and someone will pray with you." Well, that
Mhm.
was called the TV telephone line. Well,
Mm.
that is still being used because the Billy Graham Crusades are being shown
Mhm.
on places like TBN. They're called the Billy Graham Classics.
Yeah.
Well, so now what they've done is incorporated that line in with the prayer line. So we're getting calls from both of them.
Mm.
And yeah, I man, it's done strictly at home. It's it's done through the smartphone through an app, and the person I answer the call, and it's just really what it says. All you doing is you let them talk and what what it is that they need prayer for, um, and then you just pray with them
Mhm.
the other night I had the most uplifting. And this lady, I mean, I prayed with her, and she sang for me. She sang me a song, and then she prayed for me. And I
Ooh.
said, "Ma'am, I am more uplifted than you are." I mean, so
Yeah.
anyway, but and then you get the whole gamut, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
get and so, but it's been an interesting experience. It really
Mhm.
has. It
Yeah.
you know.
The thing that I like what you said there, and it's a classic example of what we're about here.
Hmm.
When you bless others, you're
Hmm.
going to be blessed.
Oh yeah,
And when
without
you
a doubt.
bless others, I mean, you're
Hmm.
going to be, oh goodness, when it comes back, it just, it uplifts you too. And
Hmm.
that's a win-win situation because
Sure.
we live in a world today where there's a lot of meanness going on. There's a
Mhm,
lot of ugliness going on. There's a lot of hate going on.
mhm,
And we can turn that around.
mhm.
We can individually by treating the people we come in contact with the same way we would like to be treated.
Right.
Or I had someone on the show that corrected me on that, and I stand corrected. They says, I want to treat someone better than I want
Mhm,
them to treat me.
mhm.
And I thought
Yeah,
that's taking it up a notch. And
right.
Tamara, I know you subscribe to that because I know you, I know your heart and the way you're wired. And Tamara, just share with the folks a little bit about who you are and what you do because they don't know too much about you, probably.
Well, it's really fascinating because when I hear you talk about in my world, I call it holding space. When we sit there and just witness someone as they're grieving and going through their process, adding words to where they are can derail them from this really cool opportunity of learning from their life experiences.
Hmm.
And when we get involved in, we think we're doing something good for someone, we can actually redirect their path. And it's so important to allow people to figure it out for themselves and be a true supporter of others is not getting in the way. So I love that you say that and you share that as well, because it's something that I think we try from our heart to do something right for someone else. And quite often we're attached to their outcome, causing a lot of pain in the relationship we have with them and also more pain for themselves. They feel like they can't go or lean on anybody. So I think it's super
Hmm.
important to know the difference about how to healthily support someone. So I love that you were just speaking of that. I navigate conflict. I help people when they're in that nasty, dark space of either inner resistance with the belief for themselves and they're in that constant struggle of denial of something good happening in their lives. They constantly have those same patterns over and over again, creating that resistance. or if they're dealing with conflict at work, having trouble getting along or keep on losing their job or something like that. Or, if you're on a team and you don't seem to have a cohesive team. And I love getting a chance to support people and helping them understand the value of every single person on that team so that they can come together and really celebrate a collaboration of differences and getting a chance to really expand themselves from there. Or navigating divorce. We all have those times in life where there's someone we significantly love and you're just having a hard time and it's not working out, or even if it is working out and you're trying to redefine that structure. So I come in and just kind of help see the value of conflict, the gifts behind having something like that happen in your life instead of running from them, but running to them. So I love people helping them figure it out. So it's very fun.
One of the things too that Rick, you pointed out, it's very interesting. Every community, as we all know, has its own personality, and your community up there in Mooresville, excuse me, Mooresville, excuse me.
There you go.
Thank you, sir. So I've been out of North Carolina since 1968, and I need to be reprogrammed. Thank you for the correction.
I'll tell you a funny story about that in a minute.
Yeah, but you're one of the things that's unique about your community. You guys are big time. A major part is racing, isn't it?
Yeah. We have Roger Penske, for example. He has a 400,000 square foot shop here. All of his racing efforts are based here in Mooresville. And of course, it's the home of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Sr. In fact, I have in my possession a phone book that I got when I first moved here back in '96, and Dale Jr. is in the phone book. Believe it or not, I tell people that and they don't believe me, but yeah, he's in there. So he went to the same high school that my daughter went to, and so and then all there's other big race teams that are located here too.
Oh yeah, Joe Gibbs Racing.
Joe Gibbs is right down the street here in Huntersville, and then you got Kyle Busch and some of the other racers that have their own teams that field truck teams and things like that. We have a lot of the truck teams are based here. ARCA, which is another conference, you might say, of racing. But drag racing, there's some major drag racers here. So it's a huge part of our economy. It's like I tell people, football is just a game unless you're earning your living by it. And then it's more than a game, Well, that's the same thing with auto racing. It's a sport, but when your community, a huge part of our community, our income in this community is based on racing, and there's a lot of volunteering going on in that people don't realize. We have here in Mooresville, for example, the North Carolina Racing Hall of Fame. And it was started by a gentleman named Don Miller who worked with Roger Penske, and Don has he holds some records in his own right. And he started this, and it's run completely by volunteers. I did a lot of volunteer work, and I worked in the gift shop, and I did tours where you take people. They have cars are there on consignment. They don't own any of them. Don has some of his cars in there, race cars I'm talking about. And so I would do tours and kind of talk about the different cars and a little bit about the history. Some of them are real, some of them are clones. They couldn't afford the real ones. I mean, that's a great asset to our community. We had one of the famous racing artists who was a good friend of mine, and he passed away a couple of years ago. A guy named Gary Hill, and he captured a lot of the history of racing through his art, and you can see his artwork displayed in every racing, every track across the country. But it's kind of a sense of pride. I can look at TV and I say, that car's built in my town. I know the guy that built that car. So, but anyway, the Hall of Fame is all volunteer. And I've done a lot of that. And then we have the Walk of Fame. The Walk of Fame in downtown Mooresville, which is not unlike the stars out in Hollywood. They have a thing and it's embedded in the sidewalk, and we have all of the drivers that are in the Hall of Fame have their it's not a star, but it's a plaque, And that was started actually by a good friend of mine who he grew up in what we call racing royalty. His father was race. He started out with the Petties, and he and his brother was a famed crew chief, and he actually started. We have the NASCAR Tech here in Mooresville. It's part of the universal system of schools and based out of Arizona, and the one here is NASCAR Tech, and we have the only pit stop training school. Try to say that real fast. Pit stop training school in the world. We have here in Mooresville, and so it's a big deal here. But my friend that's with NASCAR, he helped establish NASCAR Tech. And he's the one that started this thing downtown, and it's a big tourist draw. And but that's all done by volunteers. Everything is done by volunteers. So every community is unique. Every community has something like that. We have a sister city, Hockenheim, Germany, and the reason that's our sister city is because they have a racetrack, and their economy is racing oriented. And so that's our sister city, and they've sent representatives here. We sent them out there. But our city also is the home of Lowe's Home Improvement, and we have the national headquarters or the international headquarters. They have a campus here, and so Mooresville, in a lot of ways, is like Bentonville, Arkansas. We've been having to learn about being that world center of attention, and all of these influx of people coming in that are working for companies that sell to Lowe's. And that has just been phenomenal, the way it's brought people in here. And so these are all areas that opportunities for service, because you got an influx of people. You got come in. We have people come in that we call it chasing their NASCAR dream, and and you want to tell them, look, it's like the NBA or NFL. Only a small percentage ever get there. Won't you set your sights a little lower? So, work your way up, so to speak. But they come here.
A Uber driver.
Yeah. But it can be as a mechanic or anything. And I've talked with receptionists in these various race teams. They said they'll come in and say, "I'll sweep floors. I don't care. You don't even have to pay me. I just want to work here." Wow. And you say, we can't do that. By law we can't do that. So but yeah, you have these people coming in, and all of these things are opportunities for service. They really are.
That's really amazing, isn't it, Tamara? I mean, because all the things
fascinating.
Because out there in Phoenix, where you're at, in the greater Phoenix area, there's a lot going on out there too, isn't there?
Oh yeah, there's so many opportunities for charity. There's, we have a retirement community up here. We are a heavy retirement state, but there's also a lot of tourism here. So we have a lot of seasonal work, and there's just never any reason to. That's what I think I love about out here. There are folks that are in the more retirement years. They're probably more active in their retirement than they were when they were parents raising kids. It's amazing to me. And they're loving life, and they're being able to enjoy the fruits of their labor. And so it's just been beautiful to watch them celebrate that.
Yeah, you have the snowbirds out there.
Yeah,
getting away from the snow. Yeah, I know you got a big Dale Webb community.
Yes,
right up the road there. We used to drive through there on the way to Wickenburg. It's huge.
It is a huge community, and it is kind of fun because there is that whole buzz around the race season, and it is absolutely true. There is a whole community that lives around that solely.
One of the things that connects our town with your town, in fact, it's on my bucket list, and I'm going to do one of these days. And it got changed this year because of COVID. But I don't know if you're familiar with Barrett Jackson.
Oh yeah, well, gosh, I go every year.
Well, that's
right next to my house.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list to go. And
Barrett Jackson, and
Mooresville's represented very well at that. If you watch the broadcast, they've mentioned Mooresville quite a number of times because of the racing. A lot of times they'll have racers there who would raise money for charity. And, they auction off a race car or their personal car, something like that. But then Mike Joy, who was one of the announcers, he's from Mooresville. He lives not from here, but he lives here. And then there's some other things that you hear Mooresville mentioned a lot during the broadcast of the Barrett Jackson auction. But that's something that's on my bucket list. I am going someday.
And come do the Roost and Steel too, because they come at the same time. They're amazing. They're just really fascinating.
Yep. So that's on my bucket list. If they have it next January, maybe I can make it there.
Yeah.
I have some good friends, dear friends there in Phoenix area that I want to come visit too. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the COVID stopped our visits out to Phoenix, and because I always enjoyed going out there, we had a lot of fun. In fact, the president of E360 TV, Aaron Hymas, he lives there in Phoenix, and Tamara and I, we're good friends with him, and he's, we're going to be doing, we're going to have a little get together, you might say, all the hosts and stuff, and it's going to be fun and exciting because being involved with like-minded people, regardless what the mission is, that to me is what living is all about. Keeping active and all that.
Absolutely.
And Rick, between me and you, this is not for anyone else, just between me and you. For me to find somebody that loves me and likes me and puts up with me, I like those kind of people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I got one that's put up with me for 46 years.
Yeah, same here. We're going to hit 50 this year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness. I'll tell her her crown's going to be so big when she gets to heaven. But I know it's just incredible. It's just incredible. And I'll tell you something else that I've it's been a blessing to me is the friendships that I've kept over the years with people that I've go back to elementary school. But that's been a real blessing to be able to maintain those friendships. Yeah,
really is, because our hometown we grew up in, Tamara, we never had any real problems or anything like that. Like I was telling someone, I said, the problems that we created were normally self-inflicted.
Oh yeah,
and they were never as bad as what we thought they were, because when you get in trouble, you think, oh my goodness, you're one of those deals where you pray if the end of time's coming, it'd be a good time before I get home.
Yeah.
I'd be very appreciative if that happens,
Yeah.
But we grew up in a very small town, and respect for people, and it was just the way our society was. We didn't even think any different, did we, Rick? I mean, it's just the way our world turned.
Yeah. No, we didn't, and you talk about things that are unique to different cities and towns, and the town that we grew up in is Shelby. I mean, what was unique about Shelby was the music that came out of that town.
Oh, goodness gracious!
Don Gibson came out of that town. Earl Scruggs came out of that town. You can go to Nashville and mention Cleveland County, North Carolina, and they'll sit up and because they know. I mean, they know what's come out of that area. I mean, these are people in the Hall of Fame, in the Country Music Hall of Fame, and and so that always was unique to Shelby. And then we've had, we've talked about James Washburn, but Bobby Bell and so we've had some.
He played for the Kansas City Chiefs, didn't he?
Yeah, he was in the first Super Bowl, in fact. And so, so we've had some big successes in football, and so every town has their thing, and it's like Mooresville is the only place I know where if you're out eating lunch, for example, and you see somebody with a Kyle Busch shirt on or something like that, you have to ask them, are you a fan or do you work there? And it's the only place I know that you have to do that. So Shelby is kind of the same way. I mean, it's you have the Hall of Fame, the Earl Scruggs Hall of Fame, and all this, and so are you related? I mean, I know some people who are related to him, and so So anyway,
also we got the American Legion, the World Series there.
The World Series, American Legion that. it's the world headquarters. I don't know if you've been back to see the ball field that they've built. It's behind the old Blanton Stadium. But it is beautiful, and I think Lowe's gave them a bunch of money to build the museum and all that, and we've actually contributed some things to the museum because my wife's cousin is Josh Hamilton, who played baseball for he's mainly with Texas. But he wrote a book. He had addiction problems. He dropped out for a long time, almost died. It's an amazing comeback story. And I have a great picture of him with my daughter, and they're actually cousins, So, but Josh played Legion ball, and so I was able to get him to autograph a jersey, and that's hanging in the museum there, along with there's I'm drawing a blank, but anyway, it's through another niece. There was another professional player that played Legion ball, and I was able to get a jersey from him. And his father was real concerned. He said, "Now this is going to be this is upright. I mean, this is going to be nice." And I said, "It's going to be great. Don't worry about it." But he was afraid of how his son, would be presented. But anyway, those things were hanging in the museum, and we were glad that we could help out.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, Joe Roundtree's big in that, and so that's another area where people can volunteer, because all that's volunteer work. It's all done by volunteers, and it takes an enormous amount of volunteers to put that together.
And there's a lot of things that's in the community that, there's probably things here in Brenham that I don't have a clue that's going on, as small as it is. And the place to go to find out about these different organizations would be where the Chamber of Commerce. Would you recommend that, or?
That's mainly church, but for civic organizations, I'd say Chamber of Commerce. We're members of Civitans. Most all of your civic clubs are going to be members of the chamber, or at least your members are going to be members of the chamber. The club may not be in the chamber, but members of your club would be in the chamber. So that's a good place to start. And like I say, church, that's a great area to start in, because at least you can find out, some of the charities that are going on, if you want to just contribute just with a particular charity. Like we have, like I said, we have the soup kitchen, which is not called that now, but even like hospice house, places like that, they use they have a lot of paid employees, but they use a lot of volunteers too.
Absolutely. We got about 2 minutes left, so I want to give I want to give Tamara a chance to make a comment or ask you a question, and turn the camera over to her.
Thank you. So I first want to thank you so much for coming here and bringing awareness around opportunity, especially with COVID right now. People are feeling disconnected and lost. They don't know how to even re-tap in and do things, and to know that even these charity spaces are doing things that can still work through COVID. So it's great to know what's going on, and there's no excuse to feel disconnected. I feel like with our day and age and the society that we live in, there's plenty to get involved in. And so if you're sitting at home feeling like nobody cares about you, or nobody wants, there's no love in your life, it's a great place to dig deep and start giving back, and recognize that people are everywhere and they're desperate for your time and your love and your attention. So there's no reason to feel that. And just so excited to meet you, Rick, just to hear about all the things you're doing out there, and just really leaning on being able to do those services and really go back and get that education. I can't say enough. There's never a wrong time to continue to educate yourself. I will never retire. I will let up the first one to admit that. I believe, why retire? Like, just live a life of retirement always. Never stop working and never stop educating. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Well, we got about 15 seconds left. So,
Oh my goodness.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today. Like I say, the show will be edited and uploaded into YouTube. And like us on Everyday People on our Facebook page. And most importantly, share this wonderful story and the information that Rick shared with us today. Share it with someone out there, because if for someone that's looking at themselves and their problems, look out to help others. And guess what? You're going to be super blessed, and your problems are going to start shrinking, or their problems would. Anyway, thank you very much. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Bless you. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.